Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Once again, and I would start with the same dua. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli waj'al li waziran min ahli amin ya rabbal alamin. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. First of all, I would like to really thank all of you for coming here, taking time out of your busy schedule, and of course, great thanks to all the MSA students, people who did it, and all the members. Of course, this would not have been possible without the efforts, and of course, the thanks goes to the sponsors as well. Introduction. Introduction is always something a little catchy because sometimes you have been through so much in your life that if you start introducing yourself, it may go on and on and on. However, I will just do it a little small one. I am from Pakistan, and I was born and brought up in the state of Qatar. You must have all known airline called as Qatar Airways. So it is from a very small country, about 200 kilometers straight and 100 kilometers wide, but one of the richest places in the world. It's just next to Saudi, and to make it even clearer, it's just next to Dubai as well. So I was born and brought up there. I did my education over there, and then I worked for Qatar Airways for about 15 years. I was working in cabin crew department. The best part was that I was paid to go for vacation. I used to go all around the world. Used to get paid. I used to stay in one of the best hotels around the world. Of course, it was a very wealthy airline, and still it is. So there are always advantages. Whoops, that's not me. Okay. It's okay now? Sure. Yeah, anything will do. Just give it up. Okay, fine, yeah. That's more like it. You don't want me to start again, right? I'll just continue from where I was. So I started at the basic level over there, and then when I left, I was like on kind of managerial position and a very strong corporate background, about 15 years of working over there. I enjoyed every bit of it, no doubt about it. However, the question which made me think, or which made me do the transition to this side of the life was that now what? I have everything in the world. I've been to almost all the countries in the world, 85, 90 countries in the world, all the continents, been to the best places, best hotels, best cuisines. It was something like, that, for example, I feel like having fish and chips. And fish and chips are best in UK, no doubt about it. So I would request a London flight. And then next week, I feel like having Thai food. I would request Bangkok flight, and I will get it. So what I mean to say is, that after going through this life and after getting everything I had, questions were still there. Now what? Now what is going to happen? Am I going to become the president of the world? No, I don't want that. I want to be the richest person in the world? No, I don't want to be like that. There's nothing I want from the money which I don't have already, or which I haven't experienced already. So what is it? So before I answer that, this is how I want to start my talk. That when we talk about any religion, people who are non-religious generally, they would say that religion is an opium for masses. And if you would look around in general, probably that's true for most of the religions. I'm not judging anything, but I'm just giving you some thoughts, as people say. However, when you will look into Islam precisely, from its right sources, then you would come to know that definitely Islam does not fall under that category. Why? But before that, again, when all of you, Muslims, non-Muslims, whoever are there, when you think or when you hear about Islam, what is the first thought of Islam in your mind? If you are in a non-Muslim country, of course, what I've seen, with all the respect, that people would get very defensive. They would, start giving, I don't want to use the word excuses, probably that's too rude, but they would just start giving the justifications of whatever they do, whatever they have. That's one thing. And what would be the other thing, if that's not the case? If those certain people, who think that they're very modern Muslims, now they're in West, they can do whatever they want, they can say whatever they want. They go like, these Muslims are fundamentalist. I don't want to use the other word, which, goes with that. It starts with T and with IRST, I don't want to use that. Or they would say, these people, what is it all about? They look like kind of evil people. They go around, do all the bad things around the world. If that's not the case, then they would come to the rights. These people, they oppress women. Look at these all women Muslims. They always want them to keep behind the hijab. They don't want to do anything. About the men, they just want to force them to have the beard. And if somebody is little lenient, then what he would say? So what? See, basically Islam is all about 5 prayers. You go and you fast during a month of Ramadan, and once a year, you give charity, you go for Hajj. And in a negative sense, people would like, see, look, Islam, they say always, eat halal, no pork, no dancing, no music, no party. What is this religion? The sad part is this really what religion should be all about? Really? Like, you want to go dance, you want to go party? Or you just want to eat chicken, beef, goat? I mean, is this is what should be the religion all about? This is where the change starts. This is where the things will change. And if these things are not put into proper perspective, what people basically hear is all haram. This is haram. That is haram. Whatever you say, haram, haram, haram. And if you just go around and talk with Muslims who are, according to them, modernist, this is what they come up with. So now, what would be the first reason? What do you think is the first reason for that? The very basic reason is that people come from certain backgrounds. They have got certain beliefs. They are born and raised up in a certain environment where it is very strange or very unusual for them to learn about Islam in its proper perspective. As I always say, for example, let's not go to examples, but in general, people who have never been to US, they would never know what the life is all about in US. Before coming here and settling down in US, I had been here like 7, 8, 10 times maybe. And before coming, like the second flight was to New York. And before coming to New York, I had been to Australia, I had been to South Africa, I had been to all of the Europe. But when I reached New York and I stood in the middle of the Times Square, I was amazed. I was like, wow, so many lights. And that time I realized that you cannot know everything just by asking. Sometimes you have to know the things in their perspective to know how things work. For example, in USA, in one line, in one sentence, if you say, what is life? It's all about money. Whoever you talk about, it's all about money, career. I want to earn this much, I want to earn that much, I have to pay my bills and this and that. That's not wrong. But that's not life. That's part of life. So what do you think would happen? And one of the saddest reality in this scenario is that very unfortunately, Muslims do not do enough to educate others about Islam. It can be a fellow Muslim. It can be a person who is not Muslim. It can be anyone. This lack of education or lack of educating coming from Muslims is another one of the very important reasons that the message does not go across in the right way, in the right mindset. and which results in misconceptions. And if you see, right now, the most misunderstood religion in the world is Islam. The reason is, mostly people would get introduced to Islam by media, newsrooms, news channels. We all know who control them. They would get introduced to Islam by by social posts, social media pages, or God knows or what. What they forget, or what is missing over there, is that how Islam should be presented and why Islam. Why not some other ism, ISM? I don't want to name anything. So before I go into this question, and let me tell you one more thing, I'm not going to answer a lot of things. I'm just going to pose questions. Because answering will take a lot of time, and questioning will give you probably a week of call. So before we go into this about Islam and things, we need to understand our own reality. Me, as a person, who am I? Am I just merely a body that I was born, I did my job, whatever I was supposed to do, whatever went through life, and then I died? So if that's what life is all about, then what is the difference between me and a very hard-working animal? Any animal works very hard. It can be a camel, it can be a horse, it can be some other animal. They work their whole life, they serve their masters, and then they die. So what is the difference between them and me as a human being, or them and us as human beings? So we need to understand they're also made up of, their body is also made up of the same things which our body is made up of. Probably a little bit of different, minerals and stuff, but it's the same thing. They have blood, their brains, their lungs, they breathe the same oxygen, they have the same nitrogen in their body, phosphorus, X, Y, Z, whatever it is. There are people from medical department there as well. So what makes us different? What makes us humans superior to them? This is what we need to know that Islam says. According to Islam, what makes you superior as a human being is because we are made up of two things. One is this body, which is here, and the second thing is soul, which has been breathed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Somewhere at the 4th month of pregnancy in the womb of the mother. Once we understand that we are not merely a body, but we have something special in us, this is where you will start asking questions to yourself, and you will start looking for answers for a lot of questions. Before I conclude, just one more thing. Why am I differentiating? See, when we die, our body goes to this earth. And when we are alive, all of our needs of this body are taken care by this earth. Oxygen, food, trees, whatever is there is to serve us, is for our own benefit. So when we die, this body goes into this earth. Any form. It can be buried, it can be whatever people do with dead bodies. However, the soul has come from God. So what happens to the soul? Soul goes back to God. So that is why the need of the soul, the food for the soul, has to come from God. As body has come from ground, from earth, source of body comes from earth, the source of the soul has to come from God. So by saying this, the difference between Islam and any other religion would be, or going back to the basic question, why Islam would be, that Islam asks you the most basic question of life. Why are you here? What is the purpose of your life? When you start thinking from this basic question, it will start giving you a lot of insights of things you have been doing during your whole life. For example, we all have come to this world.
entry point. Then, after this, now what? What is the direction of my life? What do I want to do in my life? And once I've decided what I have to do, is there a certainty that I will reach there? Is it like guaranteed that whatever I want to do in life, I will get it? Will I be alive for that long? If not, the ultimate reality, the ultimate end, which I'm going to meet, everybody of us is going to meet, what is that? What is going to happen? What happens after I depart from this world? Then what? As I've said, keep in mind, if the life was all about this world, then of course, we are like any other animal. But if the life of you, of other people, mine, is more than just working, then there's something else you need to know. When a person would think about this, the minimum that would happen, that you will have a bit of shaking of your consciousness. And this shaking will lead you to know that if I'm standing here and you're sitting here, if you really want to know the purpose of your life, then who created you? Who is your creator? What he needs from you? Why has he made you? These are the basic questions which mostly philosophy would answer. People would go, they will think deeply, and then they will come up with the answers. However, the best part of Islam is that Islam addresses all these basic questions of human life. What is your purpose? Why you are in this world? What is the reality of this life? What will happen when you die? And once you would know the answers in the right perspective, you would know the importance of this life which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. Definitely as we say, that Islam offers you the solution. So what is the solution? How would we know? So like every other religion in the world, Islam has also a book called as Quran. We believe since 1400 years, the book which has not been changed and is preserved, if all of the books would vanish from this planet, the only book which can be rewritten in its original form and people would have agreement that this is the right version is Quran only. Because there are millions of people who know this book by heart. And that book is the only book on this face of earth which claims ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, that this is the book in which there is no doubt, or it does not carry any doubts. And then it says هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, that this book is guidance for all those people who are God conscious, who are mindful of God. And at another place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this Quran is هُدًى لِلنَّاسِ, is guidance for the whole humanity, for the whole people, وَبَيِّنَاتٍ مِنَ الْهُدَى وَالْفُرْقَانِ, and clear proof of guidance and standard or criterion to distinguish between what is right and wrong. A question may arise that what is so special about this book? Any book can claim that. Any book can say, well, this is the best book I have written. The thing is that Quran challenges this as well. This is the beauty of Quran. This is the beauty of Islam. That when Islam presents something, then Islam asks you that if you have something better, prove it. Show it to us. So at one place, at another place, Quran says, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا نَزَلْنَا عَلَىٰ عَبْدِنَا, that if you are in doubt about what we have given to our slave, our servant, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِثْلِهِ. So bring a one surah, like the Quran. The smallest surah is of only 3 verses. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar, fasalli li rabbika wanhar, inna shani'aka huwal abtar. 3 lines. 1400 years. And this challenge has not been met yet. And it will never be met because the Quran assures فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا. If you cannot do that, وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا. You will never be able to do that. And just think, that do you think people would not have tried? People would not have done their best to get to this? People have. However, the thing is, how would we decide if it is equivalent or not? It wouldn't be decided by you or me. It would be decided by the people who are expert in the linguistics of Quran, by the people who are experts in the linguistics of Arabic. So this challenge has not been met yet. And once a person would turn to this book called Quran, what he or she will get in return? In return, they would get that faith. They would get that belief, which is not blind, which is not unquestionable, which is not just close your eyes and follow that. This is the beauty of Islam. Islam does not force you to follow. Islam does not force anybody to become a Muslim. Islam does not force anybody to change their faith. You will only change if you are convinced. If you are not, then when you will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will answer whatever you will be doing. That is why, if you see, at the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all his companions, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, radiallahu anhu, nobody was forced to convert to Islam. In fact, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he entered Mecca as a conqueror, and those people were the one who wanted to kill him desperately. But when he entered Mecca as a conqueror, he said, general amnesty for everyone. Everybody is forgiven. One example, if anybody can quote, that this has happened in history. One example. Never. You know why? Because Prophet Muhammad was not doing this for himself. He was not doing this to get the power of this world. He was not doing this because he wanted to prove that me, Muhammad, is the best. He was doing it because he wanted to prove that whatever he has, the Quran which has been given to him, is the only truth. And then, when you get this kind of faith, this kind of belief, the sweetness of this faith would push you to learn about Islam. I would like to stop here, and I would like to pose a question where I don't need the answer. That how many of us really work on our faith? How many of us really think that we need to learn about what is Iman? If somebody would pose you a question, what is the difference between Islam and Iman? How many of us can answer that? If we can't, then my dear brothers and sisters, something is missing. Something is definitely not right. That means probably we have taken things for granted. And when a person would take things for granted, remember this, corruption will start. Because now you have convinced yourself that you know everything, you are the chosen one, nothing is going to happen to you, because you're born in a certain family, because you're born in a certain country, because you belong to a certain tribe, because you belong to a certain nation. This is where the problem starts with a Muslim in general. However, when the person would start acquiring knowledge, what will happen is that it is going to change you as a person. It will start changing your thoughts. It will start changing your actions. It will start changing your emotions. And when you do that, you would see, or you would find out, that Islam offers the best of the morality standards, the best ethical manners you can ever find in the world. It starts from you as a person, and then Islam defines roles of you in society. Me as a son, me as a brother, me as a neighbor, as an employee, as an employer, as a manager, as a CEO, as the president of the world, as the president of the company, whatever it is, Islam defines standards. Islam gives you a roadmap to follow. The question is why? Why does Islam gives you a very clear rights and wrongs, do's and don'ts? The thing is, Islam wants a society based on justice and fairness. Now see, this is the thing, when you start connecting the dots, when you start connecting things in the right perspective, then you would realize that there are so many things you have not been thinking about. There are so many things that you have taken granted for. And Islam has been brought into a nutshell of 5 times prayers, once a year fasting, once a year charity, once in lifetime Hajj, and then you have open permission to do whatever you want. Really, if this was the reason, if this was the case, my dear brothers and sisters, if this was the case, just think, what is the difference between Islam and any other religion then? They also have a system of prayers. They also have a system of charity. They also fast in some way or the other. They also have their pilgrimages to different places. Then why Islam? What is so different about it? This is the thing, that when you start thinking about yourself as a person, about your beliefs as a person, about your duties as a person, about your responsibilities in different roles as a person, this is where a society would start building. And this is where you will have justice and fairness. If you see, in the whole world, even in the histories, what were the reasons for wars? Why were wars? And we all know that. Let's not go into who was right and who was wrong. But the reasons for wars in the world have always been power. I'm better than you. I want to prove you what I have is better than you. So that is on that mass scale. Why can't we do the same with our personal life? Why can't we think the same way that whatever I have as a Muslim, whatever I have as a brother, sister, employer, employee, or whatever guidelines I have, why can't I share that thing with others and let them know that, why don't you see this? Whoever has their own beliefs, without going and telling them, okay, according to your book, this is right, according to your book, this is wrong, according to your book, this is like this is one way. If somebody wants to do that, their choice. However, the other way would be, whatever they believe in, let them believe in and present yours. And ask them to be neutral and compare. No forcing, no arguments. It's your choice. You want to agree, thank you very much. You don't want to agree, it's your choice. But this would only happen if we would understand our role, what Islam has prescribed. If it will be out of that, then of course, as I've said, the thing would come down to my personal benefits. After this, another important point is, how does Islam approaches a human being? When you're reading the Quran, you will go through different phases. So how does Quran approach human being? So this is very important to know that Islam is not a book of science, S-C-I-E-N-C. Islam is not a book of science. Otherwise, we would be the first probably, to make planes. We didn't. Islam is book of science, S-I-G-N-S. And these signs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presents you intellectually and emotionally. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring your attention and would say that, why don't you see all these stars? Can you see all these skies? Can you see all these mountains? Can you see all these seas? Use your intellect. Who has made this? Simple and straight. And if it will go a little more simpler, then Islam would say, why don't you look at yourself? Who are you? Where have you come from? What is your reality? How have you made? how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made you, how did you reach the womb of your mother, how did you, all these things. And then you would, again, it's kind of intellect thing that, don't you see, can't you see that what is so difficult about it to understand, that you should be thinking that this is not something which all happens by itself. So Islam approaches to a human being is very simple and straightforward. Let it be emotional or let it be intellectual. However, the problem is with the Muslims and other people as well, that they think Islam is too old. 1400 years ago, somebody was in the desert, he claimed that I'm the prophet, and then he claimed a revelation has been given to me, and then he claimed and he claimed and he did and he done. Well, that's one way of looking at it. But right now, if I ask you, whichever department you're from, that when were the basics of those departments were written? Physics. When? Einstein? Yeah. When was Einstein? 200, 300, 400 years ago. English, Shakespeare. Chemistry, some other person. So all these people, if they were like 200, 300, 400 years ago, and today if I say that, you know what, these are old, 100 years, 200 years old things, get me something new. You're going to say that Imam Sahib, you're out of your mind. This is not how things work. You have to go back to your basics of whatever you want to learn to know how it has started. So you need to understand that when it comes to roots, when it comes to sources, there is nothing called as old. It's always judged as right and wrong. People 5,000 years ago were also the same. 2 hands, 2 legs, brains, heart, relationships. Same problems what we have today. Just the difference is we have more technology today than that time. But the basic problems always remains the same. That is why Islam gives the solution to all the basic problems. And the problem why we don't get it is because we don't take whole thing. We pick and choose. If I like something, I take it. If I don't like something, I say, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafur Rahim. He's going to forgive me, that's fine. And then what happens? When you pick and choose, let's say you have an exam tomorrow, you haven't prepared, you've got 100 questions. And you pick and choose that what's going to happen in the exam. You all know what will happen. And this is what happens with Muslims. They pick and choose, and then when they don't know what is the best to do because they haven't taken the whole thing, then at one point, that's it. They're strangled. They're confused. They don't know what to say because they have been saying all the things just by themselves, by thinking what they think is right. So this is one of the problems people think. And last thing I would like to say before I open the mic for questions and answers. Let's see, the best thing what Islam has to offer is the inner peace, satisfaction, and happiness. A person would never be satisfied with what he has, would never attain that state of satisfaction if he or she don't know about why is he or she in this world. You just look around you and see people with a lot of money, they have their own problems. People with less money, they have their own problems. People living in different parts of the world will have their own problems. However, the satisfaction and inner peace would only come when you would convince yourself that this is not final. It is going to change. Nothing is permanent. Only change is permanent. And whatever I'm doing in this world, however I'm living my life, I will have reward for whatever I'm doing. Or I'll have some kind of result with whatever I'm doing. If properly followed, properly learned, Islam would give you mental peace. It would give you emotional peace. It would make you strong enough to stand firm in any kind of stressors, in any kind of stress situation. It will bring tranquility and serenity. And these few things, that Islam is not something new. Islam is the continuation of what Jesus has said. We have a whole chapter in Quran called as chapter Mary. Jesus is mentioned by name in Quran. Islam is the continuation of Jews. Moses, mentioned 125 times by name in Quran, is one of the mightiest messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abraham, Jacob, and other messengers. Islam is not something new. Islam is the continuation of all those messages which have been there before. Islam has come to revive that and to let you know that wake up. This is not final. And then we have got some books. It says Brief Illustrated Guide to Islam. If somebody would like to have it, just have a copy. It's complimentary. And with this, if you have any questions, you're free to ask me. If I will know the answer, I'll definitely give the answer. If I don't, then I'll email it to you. Wow. Our teacher used to say, oh, there you go, great. Let me say what I was about to say. You know, our teacher used to say that if there are no questions, only two scenarios are possible. Either people understood everything or nothing. But we have a question, yes, somebody is listening. Yes, please.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things, happening right now that are really controversial when it comes to Islam. So when it comes to those issues, how should we respond?
Learn. See, the problem is, you're right. You said what you mentioned is one of the biggest problems. The problem lies in not knowing. This is where the problem starts. About the belief, see, definitely there are a lot of things in Islam which cannot be reasoned about. What is death? We don't know. What is going to happen after death? We don't know. What is the reality of paradise and hell? We don't know. We only know that it has come from a source, which is Quran and the sayings of Prophet Muhammad. But that source is verified. I don't want to go into details, because if I go into details, is the thing. The thing is, okay, let me say one thing. Like, for example, Quran gives you 100 facts. And out of those 100 facts, 80 can be proved or has been proved right. About human nature, different things. 80 things have been proved right. The other 20 have not been proved wrong, but we have no answers to them. So common sense says that if these 80 things have been proved right, and you have answers for this, so logically these 20 should be right. So same thing, when we have problems, Islam would offer you the solution if you would look properly. But the important thing is that when you're looking for a solution, don't try to look for your solution, what you want. Try to look for a solution which will solve the problem. I hope that helps. Yes, please.
So you said that, well, it's a fact that there are a lot of misconceptions about Islam. Since Islam is a continuation of other religions, why are the misconceptions only about Islam? Why not about the other faith?
Again, the question is that why there are so many misconceptions about Islam. I'm thinking of good words. Normally, the misconception would arise when a thing is not understood in its proper perspective. This computer is working, right? How many of us knows how this works? 1, 2, okay. So let's say about 10%. I don't know how it works. I know there are keys, probably there's some things in there. Now just imagine if I start explaining this thing by my logic. What will happen? It will make a big chaos. This thing is relaying live right now. How? How do we know? We don't know what are the rays coming out of it, where is it going, what is internet, how it is relaying to the whole world, how people are watching. How? I don't know. But I know it is happening. But just imagine a person comes, 200 years old, before, who died. He just come to life and he come to this place. Can you explain this thing to him? Can you explain this thing to him? You cannot. Lack of knowledge. Lack of understanding. Same rule applies to Islam. The problem is, we Muslims do not do enough to put across the right message. Another example. How many Islamic news channels you know? Can you name me 5? Islamic, not Arabic. 3, 1. You can't. Let me give you another example. More than 1 billion Muslims? Maybe more. Name me 5 Islamic financing institutions, Islamic banks, 5. Can you? Don't say, that this was a bank which says Islamic bank. I'm not saying Islamic bank, I'm saying 5 Islamic financial institutions which are equal to bank. Can you? 3, 1. You can't, because there isn't any. You know why? You have to tell you why? Because we are ashamed to be of what we are. We claim we have Quran. We are the best. Those are non-Muslims. We are Muslim. Blah, 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 blah. Where is it practical? Please show me something I can show other people. Where is it? Yeah, it's on the way. Maybe next 200 years. I hope. But if not now, then when? Why do I have to keep on saying, it's for somebody else and not me? See, today I could have stand here and I could have started, giving you all the, ayahs from the Quran and all these, and I can try to prove Islam is the best, and Islam is this, and Islam is that. Yeah, that's one way of doing it. Why can't we just step out of that and challenge ourselves? Where is the practicality? And this is what happens, that when we start claiming things, we start saying that we are the best, but we have nothing in the backup. This is where the misconception starts. This is where the misunderstanding starts. For example, we have a huge problem with Islam, that Islam portrays that women are oppressed in Islam. Right? Again, I challenge you, not you in general. Show me one religion in the world, not laws, religion in the world, which describes the goods and bads of women, which says that what is the inheritance of a woman, what is the status of woman, how a woman should be treated as a mother, as a sister, as a daughter, as a wife. None. You will find people making laws, but I'm talking about religion. None. We have those all laws, but we don't want to implement. We don't want to do that. Why? I don't know. Maybe people who are in charge, they have their own, for the reasons they know the best about. Why not? This is the problem. As I said in the beginning, when we hear about Islam, we all hear about haram, haram, haram. They always say praying. And trust me, people have come to me and they say, you know what? Whenever I go to a sheikh, for a Friday or something, they have only 2 things to tell me. If you do, you have to do this, 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 this. If you don't do this, you will go to hell here, you will go to hell due to this, you will go to hell due to this. But whatever a person has to do, we have to tell him why. You have to use your intellect, you have to use your reasoning, you have to use your logic. Unless we do that, it will remain like this. We will always be ashamed of who we are. We will always come up with our own man-made excuses, and it will always end up in misunderstandings and misconceptions. Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you.
I have more of a comment than a question.
Sure.
I do appreciate you saying that Islam did not come in with Muhammad, that he's a continuation of all the other prophets. And I do appreciate that, and that connects with the misconception about Islam. I can understand the misconceptions from other people that are agnostic, atheist, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, whatever. But for the life of me, I cannot understand it from a whole lot of Muslims that I know that have a misconception about that Islam came in with Muhammad and they don't know how to explain it or defend it.
Sorry, I didn't get the last part. I didn't get the last sentence.
Oh, I said, we have a problem with other people misconceiving
Misconceiving. Right.
Islam. But the problem I have is with Muslims themselves.
Themselves.
Misconceiving.
Exactly. Great.
You
Thank
know,
you very
that
much.
Islam came in with Muhammad, and they don't know how to explain it.
Right. Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Do we have any new Muslims here?
Washington is the father of our country.
I'm sure you was. You are? When did you accept Islam?
In February.
Please tell us about your experience.
So I come from a very diverse background, and Muslims were always around me. And when I turned 18, I started researching about Islam, and it all started making me think about my life and death. So in 2022, earlier, I took a course on Udemy to learn the basics of Islam. And the more I was discovering, the more I was drawn to it, and I was eager to keep on learning more and more about Islam. So after a whole month of research and reading, I came to the conclusion that Islam was the only real religion to live life to prepare for death. And the connection I felt with God after reverting was never there before, because my connection now is through knowledge and learning rather than blind faith. And after reverting, I understand the meaning of this life and the hereafter. And I took my Shahada in Delaware, and since that day my life has changed for the better. And now I know why I am born and why I should be religious. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. So, if you'll see, he just said everything what I've been saying in a nutshell. Reality of life, reality of death, who's your creator, why you are in this world, and what will happen when you will die. Any other questions? Do you have any non-Muslims here?
Excuse me,
Yes, please.
do you have time?
Yes.
When the time will be up, just let me know, okay? So we have non-Muslim here. Do you have any questions?
Well, I just wanted to say one thing, actually.
Sure, please.
So I'm in the process of converting, and it's really difficult because I'd be the first one in my family's generation to do that. I'm still going to take my time. However, I know I have a supportive community around me. It's very difficult because I've been a missionary as well. I've been all over the place, bounced from Catholic to Christian, back and forth, and it seems like they can only. I have a saying where you can't sit with God on a Sunday and walk with the devil Monday through Saturday, and so I don't really appreciate how we've been being represented. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time, and this is why I came here. Thanks to my friend Saeed, very supportive.
Great, thank you very much.
And so I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you for
Thank
being here.
Thank you, and all the best. Great comment. Anyone else? Yes,
I
please.
just want to add a small comment about the continuation.
Sure.
Prophet Islam was kind of completing the mission that actually carried by other messengers and prophets. I think here the most important thing is to understand the meaning of the word Islam. Right? So I think the misconception is there. So the meaning of Islam in Arabic is to submit, to surrender. And what do we need to surrender? Like as human beings, we have our will, power, right? We can make decisions, we can make choices, we have things, and when we see two things, and then we can make a decision. Islam means that when you have this situation, you will submit yourself, you will always submit yourself, surrender your will to the will of God. So now if you just relate it back to the earlier messengers and prophets, and it is completely completely illogical to think for a moment that the previous messengers were told that, hey, tell people to submit their will to someone else other than God himself, right? So from that angle, that the message was the same. Only different people at different times and epochs,
And different
they carried the message, they communicated the message to the people. And Muhammad was the seal of that messengership, and he completed the mission. So from that angle, it is the same message, the single message. All these messengers like Jacob's, Abraham, and Moses, Jesus, all they carried the same message. So single message from Adam to Muhammad, and they carry. There is no difference. And Quran clearly says that we do not differentiate among the messengers and prophets.
Actually, the reason I didn't, the reason I didn't go into the details because I didn't want to make it technical. I just wanted to keep it general. Thank you very much. So, anybody else? We still have some time. Should I start asking? No.
Excuse me.
Yes, please.
You said there is same different technology. Now we have, it's different than technology, the nations, the old nations, the ancient nations. But you know, when you go, perfectly, or you go carefully to look at the ancient nations, they have technology, but the technology and the science is different than now. We don't know it even. You know something? That the science they have it, we don't know it. So we can find it in Quran when he said to the, for example, to the قارون. إن قارون كان من قوم موسى. He's from of Musa, a station. But he is, and then بغى عليه, and then he is controlled, or he's got rich man. But when I asked him, you have to mention Allah, you have to say Allah, you have to thank Allah. He said, I got it from my science. He doesn't say, I got it from my trading. That means Qarun has got a science that he got this money. He's got a science, no trading. He wasn't investing. There's a technology, we don't know where is it. We got technology, Farham, Ahramat, I don't know what they're called, pyramids. The pyramids, they built it. Till now, we don't know many things. We don't know how they build it, how they do it, how they can make it. And the other things, Sulaiman, Nabi Sulaiman, he's got said, Sarh. The Sarh, in all language, in Arabic, you can say Sarh. It's mean the high building. Something is high. But when you look carefully to the ayah, you're going to see something is like قبة الفلكية. How do you say it? Our telescope. This telescope, he got it, Suleiman. He's got a science different than science we got. He got a technology different than we got. And the other nations in Iraq, for example, many civilizations, in China too, they got different science. We don't know what is that it was. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so in the last words, what I would say is, that what I would say is to give you that, sorry. So whatever we have heard, whatever questions we had, whatever we have discussed, just promise yourself, if you're a Muslim, then it's a duty. And if you're a non-Muslim, then just do it in general, that know about Islam in its proper perspective. Learn about it. See, I'll put it this way. Right now, if we ask ourselves that how many times we have read Quran from Surah Fatiha to Surah Nas with translation only. We're all here, minimum 20s and up. Probably in the university, by the time we have reached here, we might have read books in hundreds, 2, 3, 4, 5, 600 books, maybe more. As a Muslim, when was the last time I opened Quran and I tried to learn from the Quran that what this book needs from me? So my dear brothers and sisters, unless and until we will go back to our source, we will never realize the importance and beauty of this life we have. There are, in my country back home, people who do not have access to clean water. They are dying because they are drinking contaminated water. And over here, even the water that comes out of my tap has been processed. Even the water which is flowing in the rivers does not contain any kind of contamination which would kill people. Huge difference. We are living in the best part of the world right now, with the best technology we have, with the best of everything we have. You may have disagreements, but in general, the best we can get in the world, we have it here in this place, in this country. In our life, the clothes we are wearing, the electricity we're using, the kind of this all we have, the kind of food we are eating, the minimum we can do is look into ourselves. Try to find out your reality. Try to find out the truth about this life you are living. Look at it in this way. What if right now, before I myself get down from the stage, if I die? What excuse I have in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I did not have time to read Quran from Surah Fatiha to Surah Nas with the translation? What excuse I have to give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I used to go and do a lot of things in my life. I have lived so many years, but I did not have the time to read about the biography of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I claim to be a Muslim, and I claim to be the best, and I claim that the religion I'm following is the best, based on what other people say, or based on what I like, or what I have. So, Muslimin, with this comment, that please, take some time out, read only half a page if you can, of Quran. Do not go to scholars with the questions. No. When you're reading the translation, keep a pen and paper with you, a notebook. Whatever you don't understand, keep on writing the questions. Once you're finished from Alham to An-Nas, most of your questions will be answered by Quran itself. And the questions that will remain, you would already have an understanding that how to look for answers. And it would change definitely your life for better. It would definitely give you an idea that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not just merely someone who was given the Quran. With this, I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that whatever we heard, whatever we have listened over it, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the guidance to make that thing part of our life, inshallah.